Excellent. There's Chris.
Get multiple Scott Ottenbergs up. I don't know what that's all about. That's interesting.
I actually do have a cousin back in Pittsburgh whose name is Scott Ottenberg. I doubt that it would be
I'll
him.
be honest with you, I've never seen this before. This is the first. Be in 3 places at once.
Mr. Chair, we're recording and we're
It's
online.
5:28, so we got about 2 minutes.
All right. We will wait that 2 minutes and hopefully Mr. Backert will be here.
All right, thanks.
Shoe store. Sign the business license. Right through my head. Rare shoes.
Let me know what that is. Sure. I just want to be able to name specifically.
Sure.
Thank you, Joe. Shoes. Is it a salon or is it hair products?
Salon. I'll get it tomorrow.
And it is 5:30, Chair, so whenever Mr. Bacher gets in, we can go ahead and get started whenever you please. Thank you to the council chamber. We can go ahead and get started.
All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Economic Development Committee for Monday, January the 26th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. here at City Hall. First item of business is a call to order. Ms. Lobeck, would you please call roll?
Chair Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Preston,
Here.
Councilmember Albers,
Here.
Councilmember Bacher,
Present.
Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Crayons,
Here.
Councilmember McCutcheon, Councilmember Trottier.
Here. Deb, if you can hear us, can you let us know if you're here? I think you're on mute right now.
Yes, I'm here. I was on mute, so you wouldn't hear the dog barking.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. All right, we do have a quorum then. That's great. So next item is approval of minutes from the November 17th, 2025 meeting. Just as a reminder, we did not meet during the month of December. So does anyone have any questions regarding the minutes for the November meeting? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Made by Councilmember Crayons, seconded by Councilmember Trottier. Oh, I am sorry, Mr. Farmer, you had a question. Oh, no, he was just seconding the motion.
Yeah, I was just gonna make the motion.
All right, perfect. Thank you, sir. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the approval of the minutes from the November 17th, 2025 meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Minutes approved. Now we move along to public comment. Do we have anyone online for public comment?
No, sir.
All right, no one online for public comment, no one here in the audience for public comment. Then we'll move on to discussion items. Under for information, item A, update on business changes and other business news. So with no further delay, I will turn things over to City Administrator Lee for the update.
Thank you, Chair Ottenberg. Couple updates tonight. Two will cover a little bit more in depth, so I'll briefly touch on them, but there are other two information and one action item. Just a heads up about the business forum. We did hold our first of two, with the presentation being led by Chair Ottenberg. That was held last Thursday, January 22nd. Just a quick note that our next business forum is scheduled for October 22nd. It's a Thursday at 7:30 a.m. It'll be here at City Hall. Other than that, we did want to also point out, this is a preliminary review that we're going to do as a for action item, but just wanted to also point out that Ridge Properties and Location Commercial Real Estate will be going to the Development and Zoning Review Committee to potentially propose a potential car wash and a QSR development at 17191 and 1794 Main Street. That is moving forward. We'll have a discussion about it today to get feedback to roll and incorporate it into the presentation that will take place on the 28th. Also, a quick note that Exit 11 Coffee reached out to the department regarding a potential development here in Wildwood. They had initially planned and were looking at a piece of the parcel where Wildwood Square currently is today. That said, they're pretty open to where they would want to be located. It's very preliminary, but wanted to make a note that it does seem like there's a significant interest in having some type of establishment in Wildwood. So you all know Exit 11 Coffee is one of those more smaller shops that have multiple drive-through lanes. So it would be a little bit different than what we currently have anywhere else in the city. It proposes two different, in other facilities, they have two different drive-through lanes going at the same time. So something that's definitely unique. We'll have to hear back. They're currently looking at a couple options and seeing if there's a spot that they really have their heart set on. A quick note too, this isn't, under consideration just yet, but the LaSalle property, just wanted to provide a quick update that it does seem that a new organization, the Hecto Group, they do have it under contract at this time, and they do have some ideas for how they would like to use it. They plan on retaining all the historic assets, but as of right now, it's very preliminary in what we know. That said, it does seem like they are moving forward with that transaction. Quick note, this has been going to council, but just a note about Chile Ponds and Gardens, very nice family. They have closed their location over in Manchester. They'll be opening up here in Wildwood shortly, over off St. Albans where Far Greenhouse used to be. Good to see that. A note about ribbon cutting events. Wildwood Tobacco and Liquor had a ribbon cutting at 16437 Village Plaza View Drive back on Friday at 4 p.m. And Chair Ottenberg and the mayor were kind enough to attend, and we have that promoted on our website and social media. And then wanted to save this one for last. We actually got two. I'll save one for last. We've got Central Bank that's relocating to 179 Plaza Drive. That's where the old PNC Bank used to be. They're looking to open, and the department will be meeting with them in the next week or so. Kind of talk about that transition, but they plan on opening at the new location within the next couple months. It's going to be great to see that frontage filled up, but it will also create a vacancy where they're currently located. They do own that building. So they will be looking to either sublease it or sell it. That's something we'll have to find out more of, but they are planning to move their operation over to the heart of Town Center, if you will, at Plaza in Maine. Also, this is the big one. Just got a recent update that a new restaurant has leased the spot where Local House Bistro used to be located at 16524 Manchester Road. It will be the name of the business is Aldar Yemeni Cuisine. It specializes in Yemenis type foods and will not be serving alcohol. It's more of a restaurant pickup style and also sit down restaurant. But that said, they actually do have a couple other locations. One, the more prominent being located in Tennessee. The business owner and his brother had reached out to the department, and he seems very eager to get open quickly. They're not doing too many changes to the interior, so we should actually see them open within the next couple months. I'd say less than 2 months for sure. But department's available for any questions, and appreciate that.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Lee?
Chris got his hand up.
Mr. Albers, you have your hand.
Oh, hey, what was the name of that restaurant, Tom?
Yep, it's Aldar Yemeni Cuisine.
Eldar?
Aldar Yemeni Cuisine,
What kind of food?
Yemenis food.
Yemenis?
Yep,
Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern food.
Middle Eastern, okay. Well, we're still in,
The owner said that they specialize in certain goat soups and
oh boy.
other tapas type soups with rice. Rice is a specialty as well.
Okay, I think Jim will be getting some lunch meetings there probably pretty
They
soon.
supposedly, they said that they had some very good offerings for vegetarian diets too. So it seems like there could be some very a couple different options here while ones to eat for dinner.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, I think, Tom, that's a good update. I think it's great that we're getting some proposals on the QSR stuff that we put together. That is a good sign. I would just suggest, especially with the car wash, that we're in advance really letting them know about lighting stuff, because, when I think about kind of standalone car washes that are around town, different parts of this are not our town, but like in Ellisville Bowl and things like that, they're usually lit up like a Christmas tree. So I think we just want to be sure that everybody's aware of what they can and can't do from the beginning, so that there's not a whole lot of confusion on that, because we'd hate to get down the road and then realize, well, they can't put neon lights all over the front of it, so it's not going to work out.
That said too, I agreed, and we have communicated that, and tonight, there's actually an action item to have both that parcel and the parcel that has a QSR proposal on it. This is very preliminary. That said, tonight, we're hoping to get some feedback from the committee, obviously being made up of economic development focus, but also, we have to still follow our land use policy and our code, to get some preliminary feedback that then the department can carry forth and convey during the upcoming DZRC meeting. So we can definitely take a note about the lighting consideration, but we can kind of break this down a little bit further as well. For action.
All right, very good. Mr. Backer.
Point of information, is there a Exo 11 in Eureka? Is that-
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, there is.
yeah,
Yeah, they're wanting
pretty good coffee. I'm more interested in that than I am in the goat soup. Somebody wants to put that in the notes.
I thought they were based in Eureka, maybe I heard too. From
No,
Eureka?
that was their most recent location that
Oh.
they opened. They did say that it's the second highest performing though.
Okay.
They are doing
It's
very
always
well.
busy.
Yeah, they're doing very well in Eureka.
Started in Washington.
Yeah, Washington, started in Washington, Missouri.
Yeah, I knew it was pretty local, but yeah.
They have, I think, 8 locations. So this would be their ninth.
So they're-
I've seen one in Union, Missouri.
So, and just if, for more information there, I mean, that is a very preliminary, the Department of Planning, Public Works and Administration met with the owner. And there was significant interest in Wildwood. That said, there hadn't been any contact with landowners or real estate, the people that actually would own the land that they would look to purchase or build on. So there's still a lot that would need to be done. That said, we were almost just laying out the groundwork for what would be needed if they were to really want to put in this dual use drive-through, not dual use, but double-sided.
All right, any other questions for the city administrator?
Yeah, I do. but
Gotcha.
my hand doesn't look like it's going up, sorry. So, Tom, how serious are they about the car wash?
We will see. We don't know just yet. They're going to the Development and Zoning Review Committee, so we can't really tell just yet. I mean, they could go to that meeting and get some feedback and then not actually submit something. There hasn't been any official submittals as of yet.
Yeah, I'd be a little leery of having a car wash in Wildwood. There's some in Ellisville. There's one in Wildwood. Just my personal opinion. I don't think we need to load up on, the same type of business. I think we need a variety of businesses.
Mr. Albers.
Would that be on one of the the drive-through properties on either side of
Yep.
Main
so
Street,
that-
right?
Yep, that's correct. So tonight, there's actually an item on under for action where the idea would be, at the last meeting, we decided as a group to look at pre-zoning some of these properties, but the idea here was we do have a QSR proposal possibly coming through the pipeline. And if that were to get an official submittal, we're gonna be going through a pretty extensive review process. And the hope was tonight that we would potentially mirror that pre-zoning effort with the efforts that we're gonna have when we're going through the QSR portion. Obviously, the car wash is gonna be unique. That is not really what the change was for the drive-through component. But at least for the QSR side, if there were to be a review, if that means big if they have the submittal, then we would carry out the normal review process for the QSR component, but then also take that and possibly create some guidelines and pre-zone the rest of the properties that we've identified on one.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lee? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is a review of the January 2026 Business Forum report. Mr. Lee, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ottenberg. Just wanted to point out a few things. This is more of an informational item. The presentation is included. Did want to call out that the presentation was well attended. We had about 15 businesses here to get some info from the city. Typically is about that much for attendance purposes. We usually get about 15 or so that come to each. We had some council members that decided to take part, which was great. I think the event went really well. We're about to have a roundtable about Route 66 that kind of stemmed from this. So businesses getting involved is great to hear, but just wanted to go over, and there was notes taken during the meeting, the feedback received from the business community. I wanted to make sure that was provided to the committee here. So I'll just go through a couple of these. There was some mentionings of the use of golf carts in town center and how they could potentially benefit the local business community. We did note during that meeting that it's currently being reviewed by the Planning and Parks Committee, and we're currently working to get feedback from some of our partnering agencies, such as the Fire District, and a few others. But as of right now, those are still prohibited. They also brought up the use of electric scooters, e-bikes, et cetera, that sometimes they can be a little bit disruptive in the summertime with kids using them near their storefronts. So just a quick note on that front, but we did explain the police, always call the police, just in case any businesses are listening, always do call the police if they see someone acting safely on one of those devices, and electric scooters are prohibited. We did incorporate the forum layout change that was requested from the October committee, the October forum, which was we provided name tags and we offered a little bit of time for networking. I think that was well received, and obviously we just keep building on the successes from the previous. And then also there was a question about the parking along Main Street being restricted due to the fencing for the mixed use project. The Department of Planning, Public Works and Administration met with the Captain of Police Department here, and we had a discussion about this, and overall they're going to be building, a 4-story building right next to that, those parking spaces. So even though we do want to have those businesses be supported with that frontage parking, we do think there is currently enough parking in town center to accommodate the uses, and the risk of having that fence pushed up and having that work right next to a parking space, the liability from that is pretty significant, not only for the developer, but also the city. So this fence will remain there, and unfortunately, the parking is going to have to be like that until they're done with construction. So just wanted to point that out, but it was a concern raised by the business community. And then just a quick note too, they also brought up the Local House Bistro and the Bros Fish, Shrimp and More properties. We were able to give them a positive update with Aldar Yemeni Cuisine coming in at the Local House Bistro property, but did provide an update that that the Bros Fish, Shrimp and More are still working on repairs, and they do not have a time set for when they'll be opening just yet.
Mr. Lee, the presentation that we gave during the business forum last Thursday, have we sent that out to the entire council yet?
No, we have not. We
Okay.
sent it out to the business community via the e-news and the business newsletter, and then also to this group, but I can send it out.
Yeah, if you would, please, I would appreciate it. Thank
Most
you.
definitely.
Any questions for Mr. Lee on the business forum? Mr. Krantz?
So any complaints about the city?
The parking thing.
Pardon?
The parking thing was.
I think the parking thing was the main thing we heard. We got some ideas on, I think a couple of people talked about some things regarding signage, but I mean, no one complaining that we're making life difficult for them or things of that nature that I recall. Do you confirm that?
Yeah, I didn't, there wasn't anything negative. The only thing I would say is that there was more positive suggestions. One being like, hey, could you look at the golf cart usage, which it seemed like they were pretty pleased with the fact that we're already reviewing that in some capacity. I mean, unless like.
I thought the golf cart thing was turned down by P and Z.
It was that was a while back, but it's still under review for planning.
It is, okay. Fake information I got on that one then.
Yeah, it hasn't, I mean, did we have a review back?
Ed Marshall said they turned it down.
Well, Mr. Kranz, we'll have something at the March Planning and Parks Committee. Got a couple of responses, but not all. And Mr. Galani's absent at tomorrow's meeting, so he's the council person that initiated it, so I was hoping he could be there to kind of walk us through.
Oh, okay.
So March,
We have a previous proposal that was denied by planning and zoning.
not to my recollection.
All right, if there are no other questions, we will move on to the next item under for information, which is a proactive review of data centers. And do I turn this back to you, Mr. Lee, or to Mr. Vunich?
Well, I can do kind of a tag team effort
Okay.
here, but just wanted to point this out. This is another for information item. There's no action being considered. And I also wanted to include this just so I could be clear on the front end that we currently have no proposals or any interest or inquiries from outside interests saying that they'd like to do a data center in Wildwood. What we're doing here though, just like we've treated vape lounges, adult stores, marijuana dispensaries, et cetera. A law changes or a new thing becomes popular in the development community. And what Wildwood has done in the past is when we identify these things that are kind of sweeping across the nation or the state, we look at them proactively to set, clear regulations and guidelines up front. So if anybody were interested in doing something like that in our community, they would know exactly what would be required, where it could be, and any restrictions that be tied to it. The reason why I wanted to provide this to the committee here tonight for consideration, but more so just feedback, was we just had the public hearing last week at Planning and Zoning. And we plan on conducting a review of, what types of regulations, but also what's the hit on infrastructure, utility costs? How does the Senate bill from last year affect any proposals that would come through? A lot of research is going to have to be done behind the use and where data centers could possibly be, but the department wanted to offer an opportunity for the committee tonight to provide their feedback. So as we're doing the review, we could have some guidance from the committee on how they'd like to kind of situate position this review. And also, is there, from the economic development committee, is there even any interest if the economic development committee is not interested at all in data centers? Obviously, we have to have a place to put them, in our zoning and land use code, but overall, we'd like to get that feedback up front. I know some communities around the St. Louis region have had these proposed as of recently, and there's been some significant questions about their draw and power and who's going to pay for the utility improvements that go with it. Also the use of water and kind of a lot of things dealing with utility, but also just the actual disruption that they cause and the sounds that are caused by it as well. But I guess with your permission, Chair, if there's anything that Director would like to add. We're very early in this process, but we're hoping to turn it over and take some notes from what the committee's thinking on this item specifically.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, we had a good turnout. And the majority, if not everyone, was opposed to data centers in Wildwood. And had hoped that we could prohibit them, but as Mr. Lee mentioned, that may not be a possibility. We do have the industrial area, which offers an opportunity to ensure if we are forced, we have a location that is least impactful as possible. Thank you.
Don't they require a lot of real estate to build one of those?
Right.
So how many acres do we have down there to develop?
400.
400?
I don't know that Wildwood is on the radar for prime real estate for data center development, but it is something to get ahead of. I would be concerned to draft regulations to mitigate this is probably an extensive undertaking. So I'd look at what that cost outlay is, cost economically and from a time perspective before we go down a rabbit hole for something that probably is unlikely in the first place.
What about a sports complex? Seems to be real popular down there. How come we can't get one?
Well, there's some stormwater improvement. Well, the one big thing, I mean, I'll mention it. Chesterfield has spent a couple $1 million on the stormwater improvements down there, necessary to support large facilities like that. If someone were to build on the Wildwood side, they would have to extend that infrastructure across the street, which would be a pretty extensive undertaking on top of whatever development that they are planning on building. So I think that probably plays a role into it. The fact that they've set up their entire side with stormwater and other utilities are practically hooked up, it kind of makes it more attractive, at least from the cost saving side, but and also back to your note, we can definitely provide that info and take a look into it. By the way, this wasn't something that staff just presented on its own or had an inquiry into it. The master plan citizen oversight group, as we were going through a couple of the elements, they had continuously kind of referred back that we need to do this review of data centers as part of that next 10 years. So this was something to kind of get out ahead of it, but that's why we wanted to bring it up tonight, whether or not it's something that we could do a review, but how in-depth and extensive that review would be.
So I don't have a question, Mr. Lee, but Mr. Farmer has had his hand up for a while, so let's give him the opportunity to comment.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, I would just say, I mean, I guess I'm glad that we did this open house. I think it's been said in the room there that I'm not sure that Wildwood would be the right fit for data center to begin with. Although, as we've done in the past, there's not a whole lot we can do about what businesses want to come here or not, other than to zone areas properly. I mean, my assumption would be a data center would probably fall within, I would say, like the warehouse or industrial district, which, if my recollection is correct, is pretty limited just to that spot down in the valley, isn't it, Tom or Joe?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but we do not have it specifically listed or defined. I mean, Joe, would you say it would just default down to industrial warehousing?
Yes, Mr. Farmer, you're correct.
Yeah, so I would just say, I mean, like, I think I agree with, I think it was Matt that was saying this, that like, I don't know that we need to expend a huge amount of time and energy and effort into figuring out the regulations of something that isn't even slated to be a consideration necessarily here anytime soon. But as we've done in the past, I think we can just pretty easily say, hey, if a data center has interest, this is the viable location that is possible, and there's still a bunch of hoops and stuff you got to jump through. I mean, we did that pretty quickly, I feel like, with the marijuana businesses and things like that. I don't know why this would be any different procedurally.
And you can answer there, Joe.
All right, Mr. Vunish, go ahead, Mr. Vunish.
Just real quick, Mr. Farmer, I concur. Despite requests from the public to do in-depth research, I think this is just amending one of the industrial districts to ensure that a data center is a CUP, a conditional use permit, which really puts the burden on the applicant versus the city to prove it meets the requirements that we have.
So
Thank
then, would you then, I assume you need a motion, Joe, to send that to Parks and Planning to do that, or does that go straight to the council, or what?
It's at Planning
Planning
and
and
Zoning
Zoning.
Commission now, so we're in good shape.
Okay, so you don't need anything from us other than just, is this something we think you should spend more time on?
I would defer to Tom.
That was the reason for, well, it was for information item. It was more so just giving a heads up on what's going on, what's happening in planning and zoning, but also, more importantly, the resource that it'll take to look into it, et cetera. And also, if we were to do a review, if there were considerations from the committee on how, the committee reviews data centers and the possible use of them in the future in Wildwood, that was supposed to be solicited tonight to get that feedback, but we've taken notes here and we'll incorporate those moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a data center proposal in the city of Wildwood would go over something akin to a lead balloon. So I think we should just list where it can go. And if it comes, we have that conversation. But I really don't think we need to keep thumping that hornet's nest for any good reason.
Noted.
All right, thank you. Ms. McCutcheon, you had your hand up.
Mr. Farmer pretty much said what I was going to say. I did have one question. I thought I heard somebody say that we may be forced to do this. Is there a state legislative initiative?
No, it's not necessarily a state forcing the data center to come here. Well, we don't know what will happen in the future, but right now we just have to have, within our zoning, we have to allow for the use somewhere. So if it exists, we have to have it designated somewhere. We can't just outright prohibit it. Typically Joe would know more than I, but there has to be a place within your city that you can do whatever use is being proposed. If not, you could be going against state legislation. So.
Got it. Thanks.
All right, Mr. Farmer, I'll get to you in a moment. Mr. Lee, can you clarify if there were, let's just look down the road. If in fact there were a data center to be constructed down in the industrial zone, obviously one of the big concerns is the draw of power from the grid and overloading the grid. But could that not also be a possible potential advantage because of the utility tax that would be?
Yeah, so the draw on the energy would be taxed at 4.86%. We did lower it to keep it pretty much the same rate prior to the most recent Spire increase, so it averages out to about 4.86%.
Now, would that be 4.86? Was that
For
only on
electric.
natural gas?
Sorry, yep, you're exactly right. We have 5% on Ameren, 4.86% on natural gas from Spire, and then we would be pulling 5% from the water as well. So we would get, it would produce quite a bit of utility tax revenue.
If they generate their own,
Well, that's, if they generate their own, then we can't tax it. So if it's being provided by one of the big,
I think they're required to do that now.
so that's
I think the feds have told them they need to do it.
that, and also some of the federal guidelines that have been pushed out were that the individual organizations that are building it, they have to spend the money for the infrastructure. So how this typically works and where that Senate bill that was passed by the state kind of works into this is that when these were proposed and have been proposed in other communities, they'll come in, they'll start building it, but Ameren or whomever their electric provider is, they don't necessarily showcase it, but they'll start building all the improvements necessary to power this thing because it's going to create a larger draw on the facility, on their facilities. So those all happen kind of in the background, and then eventually Ameren or the Public Service Commission will say, hey, we need more money because we just spent a couple $1 million on these improvements where you don't necessarily tie them directly to the development, but they're more so just making investments into the grid. And at that point, the rate they put a rate increase in. So at that, what we're trying to do is identify that, see if that's even doable. And then Senate Bill 04 that's passed last year, supposedly if you're producing over 100 kilowatts at each facility, that triggers some type of provision. This is where we need more research. Some type of provision that protects the customer base, but it doesn't protect them if, say, it's a 50 kilowatt facility that also matches with another 50 kilowatt facility. But we saw a recent proposal that, these things do have immense draws on power. One of the conditional use permits that were being reviewed was for the gasoline that they had, a diesel gasoline of a 7 million gallon tank for backup power. So these things, they're massive facilities. We would make if they were running off the grid, we would be able to pull in some decent revenue there. But at the same time, it would be a pretty large discussion in Wildwood, and it could affect utility down the line.
All right, Mr. Farmers has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to ask again, and I'm whatever. So I know that P&Z is talking about this. I just think that this to me seems like a pretty easy thing. There's not a lot we can leverage against this. We don't have a proposal. We can just put it down in the valley. If somebody comes, then the conversation starts. I don't know how much. I don't know how much more conversation needs to be had. Certainly, there's possibility to bring in a whole lot of tax revenue, and I suppose if somebody proposed something, that would be something to look at. But in the near term, I think we just say, hey, if this is where this can go, and that is all we know currently. Because
Yes.
anything else is going to look like we are trying to attract data centers here, and that is going to be not great.
No, and that's not what we're trying to do. I think the goal here would be, like Joe had mentioned, that identifying a location and attaching a CUP to the use. Which isn't done just yet, but that it's most likely gonna be a very limited scope unless the Planning and Zoning Commission directs further research into it.
All right, the proactive review of data centers is under for information. There wasn't any action you required from the committee, was there, Mr. Lee?
No, tonight we were just looking for that exact feedback that,
Okay.
you know, staff resources, et cetera, and you got it. So appreciate that.
All right,
So,
any final comments on the data center?
So does that go through the master plan committee, right?
They are discussed, it's been brought up there, but any change that would, you know, changing our code to require a CUP for a specific type of use, that would have to go through planning and zoning. So it was directed from that master plan committee to look into it, and inevitably, after quick review, we could see that this is a planning and zoning matter, but wanted to get feedback considering this is the Economic Development Committee, and if there was, you know, looking at all perspectives of it, wanted to just get feedback tonight, but we've got it. We could probably carry it forward.
All right, perfect. Seeing no further questions, we will move on to ready for action. First item being a review of window signage regulations, and I guess, Mr. Lee, as always, we're turning this back over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Wanted to bring this to everyone's attention tonight, and more so because of an action that we're planning on carrying out. We recently got a complaint about some window signage, a neon sign specifically hanging up in a windowsill. And upon further investigation, we found that there were, you know, a lot of these, you know, neon signs that have been placed within windowsills across the entire city. The other side of it, though, is that some of these signs are relatively small, and there are those traditional open signs that you see for any, you know, any business. You picture them in your head, but and, you know, reviewing back to the code and talking with one of the individuals that we had a complaint against was that the question of whether or not that open sign is permitted too. So tonight, we did look at the code, and that today technically would not be permitted. If you had an open sign that was hanging even adjacent or behind or affixed to the wall that hangs into the window, those signs would be against code. And right now, the city is kind of mobilizing its code enforcement team to start giving out warning notices, not only to the folks that might have, you know, a large neon sign that says, you know, it's larger and says, come in for whatever service or product, or showing a variety of products, whatever it might be, content neutral, but showing something as simple as open and having that sign shown, they're gonna get it too. So before we did that, we're wanting to bring this up as a consideration item to see if the committee would like to look at those open signs and whether or not that would be something the community would be comfortable with. We had, back when COVID was happening, we did have some complaints about the open signs that were levied. We went out there and there was discussion at that time that, hey, you know, we need to help support the business community. And those open signs show if someone's open and closed, especially during the pandemic, it kind of shows if they're taking in walking customers. So at that point, it was kind of a check-in, but the code still says that they're not allowed. The only thing that's currently allowed would be painted on signs, or those, it's almost like a sticky material, a sticker material, or you can have some type of display set back from inside the window and have external lighting on it. Where you get into trouble here is the internally lit fixture. So before we go out and do this enforcement effort, we wanted to at least run it by the committee tonight to see if these open signs, if you will, are signs that showcase whether or not a business is currently operating or is closed, whether or not that's something we'd like to review. And tonight we can kick a couple actions. If we don't want to do anything, then we'll proceed with the enforcement action as is. We'll go ahead and start giving everybody their letters and go from there. Or we can open this up and look at carving out a potential use for these open signs, or something that indicates whether or not a business is opened or closed. And then define the size that's needed, et cetera. There's been a couple businesses that have communicated to the department that, you know, that those signs are very helpful for their business to quickly show someone like, hey, whether or not they're gonna have that last minute customer or not. And also it helps attract some attention, especially at odd hours if their business is operating at, you know, not the typical 9 to 5. So department's available for any questions, but before we, you know, carried out the enforcement mechanism here where, you know, there's if you drive around the city, you'll see quite a few of these open signs out there. Those folks will be included in this enforcement effort as well as on top of the folks that might have other signs that may be a little bit more explicit.
All right, thank you. So I see a couple of our remote attendees have their hands up. Before we go to them, just a little bit more information for everyone attending tonight. I did talk with Mr. Vunich before the meeting, and I just floated a what if to him, which is if the committee were to endorse some type of a review of our signage regulations as they pertain to these open signs, how much time would his team need to do such a review? And Mr. Vunich felt that 60 days would be an adequate length of time for his committee to conduct such a review. So with that in mind, now let's go to the people who have their hands up. Both Mr. Farmer and Mr. Preston have their hands up. Since Mr. Farmer has already commented several times this evening, I'm going to go to Mr. Preston first, then we'll go to Mr. Farmer.
All right, so yeah, I was just gonna propose, just kind of the first thing we've heard about looking at starting the enforcement process was just maybe pump the brakes a little bit here and look at having the department kind of review it and just maybe slow it down, 60 to 90 days or whatever it might take to kind of adequately engage people and then kind of take it back and look at it. I don't know, I hate to go out there and start knocking down doors over, I guess, or
And in the window.
Yeah.
yeah, over kind of minuscule signage or anything like that. I think we might do ourselves some favors by vetting this a little bit more before we proceed forward.
So, Mr. Preston, are you prepared to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion 100%. I mean, if assuming if it's okay with Joe, I mean, I'd make a motion just to kind of, shelf this for 60 days and let the department review it and come back with a recommendation before we move forward.
Okay, so do we have a second to Mr. Preston's motion?
Can I-
Mr. Backer.
Can I make a statement? So would you rather have not 90 days? And again, I appreciate the motion on the floor, but is 90 days better? Can you do it in 60?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to either.
I think 60 is reasonable and I'd like to keep the momentum. I
Okay,
mentioned to Chair Ottenberg, we're kind of in a bit of a lull with the Planning and Zoning Commission.
got it,
So it's a great time.
got
I
it,
don't know what this later spring and summer will hold.
got it. Sometimes when you go too long too, then it loses a little bit of the teeth, so.
You keep pushing.
Second, the 60-day motion on the floor.
Okay, so we have a motion for a 60-day pause in enforcement of the signage regulations as they pertain to the open signs. We have a motion and a second. So now open for discussion. Now to Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a bad thing at all to kind of look at this and do a similar review to what we did on the bigger sign stuff. But I do think that we probably need to get some level of clarification out in some capacity. Like I think in general, having an open sign in your business is not a big deal. It seems like pretty normal. I think part of the issue becomes when you have like 4 windows and you have 4 different sized open signs that are in there, or it just kind of starts to grow as we've seen. And so, as we're getting new and different businesses coming to town, I'm all for supporting them and getting those things figured out. But we've got, different kind of, LED lights in windows. We've got all kinds of signage that's happening. And my concern is, I would think for business owners, their whole goal with these things is to be able to get people in. So whether it's having like some inflatable floppy guy out in front of the store or big flags like we've seen or whatever, without real clear understanding of what the city is needing or asking of them, I think that a lot of people just kind of go and see what's happening. And then most of these regulations, especially with these lights, they need to be looked at in the evening time when it's dark and there are no city employees out to do that. So I think we need to make a very clear and easy statement that says like, hey, if you want to have a window sign that says open or closed, that's great, but we don't need a million different window signs, or we can take it within reason. I mean, I'm thinking about something like Larry's. I don't think they have an open sign, but I think they have like a Budweiser sign or something in the window, which makes sense because it's a bar. I just think we have to put some clear rules in place for people and communicate them, because right now I think that we have rules that are perhaps too strict and aren't being enforced, and now we're going to have to enforce them in such a way that makes them not make a whole lot of sense. So I don't know if that is P&Z that figures that out, or if we want to give them a little bit more guidance on what what might make sense, but I think that we, I think it's difficult for us to enforce anyways, because most of this is going to be after hours, and that's just not how our city functions, really.
All right, thank you. Ms. McCutcheon.
I think we should just go ahead and enforce the code. I understand, perspective and appearance about doing another review, but it is the code we have. And what we tend to do is, well, we have a code, but, somebody's not really happy with it. So we review it and we may change it. I mean, if we're going to have a code, we really need to stick to that code. And as we saw, like Mr. Farmer just mentioned, all the LED lights. We were just talking about that not very long ago, and one person sees it, so another person puts it up. But I think if we have a code, then we should follow that code.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Vunich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things. You have a meeting scheduled in February. We may have a little preliminary research we could bring back to this committee. So as you could see the direction we're heading and give us some insights. So that's an option. And Mr. Farmer, in the past, we've adjusted the code enforcement team hours when we were getting a lot of signs going up on Saturdays because they knew we weren't working. So we can be a little more flexible, and particular problems, we can adjust hours. We can.
All right, perfect. Ms. McCutcheon. Deb, your hand is still up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to put it down.
That's all right. Okay, other questions or comments? Mr.
Just a comment. In the interest of trying to be easier to do business with, right? These people probably likely none of them even know that they're breaking a code and they're doing kind of what their neighbor did and the guy over there is doing. So I think, again, in the best interest of trying to be easy to do business with, a 60-day kind of review, right? And then great point, come back and say, hey, here's what we know, could be sooner, could be later. So I'll call the question.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask, how many complaints have we had? How many people are on a complaint?
We've had a couple individual complaints. It's not like a big wave we're getting consistently, but that said, I mean, there are a few that every time you see one of these light up signs, if it's neon, in the windowsill, it's technically against code.
Now Sunny Street has a sign.
So that,
They're non-compliant?
yep, so that's just so you kind of get how this ballooned. Some of these, they might go up without, they're supposed to get a permit first and foremost from the city, and that's where we can catch these things up front and say, hey, that's not permitted by code. If everyone goes through that process, we are able to usually.
The other thing we forget here, customers look for those signs as well. I look for the Sunny Street sign. Is it open or closed? Just, we need to be fair about it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's what we're thinking here.
Yeah.
The direction at least we're leaning towards is, hey, there's a difference between having, a sign that says open or indicates hours of operations that, gets flicked on and off, and it's not crazy light. It's not a neon, blaster. But there's a difference between that and someone that also has, whatever their service might be. They've got that 4 times plastered in the window where it seems excessive. They've got neon lights around the perimeter of their facade. That is where it starts getting into the territory of, a distraction and doing it on purpose to call attention to their business. And where this came from was we did get a complaint. We went to review it. And then at the same time, we noticed that a couple other of these window signs had gone up. And then the other side of it is, when you go to say to one business, hey, you got this window sign in here that it doesn't matter what the content is, it has an internal light. They can point and say, hey, my neighbor right here has that too. And that means immediately we started looking at it, well, we need to do a full sweep of the town center area.
So it's a business complaining about another business with a sign?
Yeah, in many cases, yes,
Okay.
especially if they get called out.
So Mr. Lee, Mr. Backert has called the question. So the proper procedure to follow is to see if there's a second. Okay, so all right, Mr. Kranz seconds that. So now we take a vote on closing off debate. All those in favor of closing off debate, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Abstentions. Okay, so now we move to to the motion that Mr. Preston originally made, which is for the 60-day evaluation of the sign code as it pertains to the open signs, as well as a pause in enforcement for that 60-day period. Is that correct, Mr. Preston?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Opposed.
The abstentions? Motion carries. All right. So that then brings us to the.
Hey, Scott, can I ask a question about that just real quick?
Yes, sir.
So we made the motion to do this. Who's actually going to do the review, Joe? Is that you guys and then it'll come back here, or where does that go?
Yeah, we'll be reporting back to this committee, but if we were to make a change to the sign code, which I could see possibly happening here, that would have to go to P and Z and then go to city council. So the idea would be almost like a concurrent review, kind of like we're doing now with like giving an update about data centers, even though the action has to go through planning and zoning. We could do the same with economic development.
Okay. Thanks.
So this would be a recommendation to bring this to P and Z after a recommendation's been made.
Mr. Farmer, I'd like to give the Economic Development Committee the first bite at the apple. Because P and Z is kind of insulated from the business community. You all aren't. And I'd like to get your impressions from what you hear when we do new regulations or start enforcement action. So that's why I'm saying, I think I'd like to bring the preliminary research here first, get your all's opinion before we even got to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Very good. That brings us then to the next item under this signage regulation question, and that's the item number 3, the visual impact in new urbanist principles and doing the overall sign code review. So we sort of covered that already. What are you looking for here, Ms. Billy?
We got the action we were looking for.
No, we got the action to pause enforcement as it pertains to the exit signs.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, open signs.
Yes. And I thought this was to look at section 415.400E4. That would include all window signage.
Okay,
So if we were to look, and if I do remember now with the motion, it was more so related to open or closed signage. We don't have that explicitly listed in the code, so I assume that was gonna be ramped up into it. So I thought, but looking at these, I thought option 3 was what the committee kind of did with a 60-day timestamp with it.
okay. Mr. Preston, are you okay with that definition?
Yeah, I'm okay with that extension of that to include that for sure.
Okay, all right. Does everybody understand what we're talking about here?
Yep.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, so I think that closes out then discussion under the ready for action items. No, it doesn't.
There's one more.
Preliminary review of proposed QSR and car wash along State Route 109. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Thank you, Chair. And this is kind of piggybacking off what was already discussed and brought up here at the committee. And this is very preliminary. So the idea tonight wasn't necessarily to get an action on the item or the proposal. This is more so a follow-up to what the committee had talked about at the last meeting, which was considering the pre-zoning of multiple properties along State Route 109 and Main Street and going through that review process. And tonight, the department was just mentioning that there is a QSR development potentially coming in at that site, at one of these sites. And the idea behind this would be if we do get one of these submittals, instead of doing the work twice, we could go through the review process and use that time while we're reviewing to also establish the pre-zoning template, if you will, for the remaining parcels. So it's almost adding a little bit of extra effort while we do one review to make a basis and create a template for down the road. So just wanted to bring that up tonight, bring up an update too, and we can go into of what is roughly being proposed. And then get action from the committee tonight on whether or not we can combine these efforts, given if the development proposal doesn't get submitted officially, then at that point, we would just proceed with the pre-zoning efforts. But if it does proceed, which does seem like that is the case right now, we would do them in tandem. As a reminder, meeting, there was an idea to do go through an activity of pre-zoning, select properties within the new SR 100-109 district, sub-district of the workplace district. Those properties included multiple properties on State Route 109 near Manchester Road, and then multiple properties on Main Street right next to 109 as well. The sites that were excluded were those sites on 100 due to the fact that they already had, usually they had a structure built upon them already. So overall, 2 of the properties that were included in that list already have a proposal, 2 proposals kind of set forth for them. So it kind of went hand in hand while we're kind of gearing up to do a pre-zoning effort and start identifying the guidelines and regulations that would be required for any QSR that would go in there. We happened to get a proposal at the same time. So wanted to just point that out, see if we can conduct that review concurrently. And then also, we do have, just as a quick overview, a car wash and then some type of QSR development. Seems like there's a 2-lane drive-through is being proposed. We don't have all the information just yet, but they will be going to the Development and Zoning Review Committee on Wednesday, January 28th, to get initial feedback. And another component of this is if the committee tonight wants to give initial feedback on this idea, more than happy to take notes tonight and carry that forth to the committee meeting that's gonna take place Wednesday. But kind of 2 items here. Any general feedback would be entertained most definitely, but also can we do the pre-zoning effort in concurrence with the review of this development proposal for the QSR side of it?
All right, Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, I have, I looked at this actually quite a bit, the last couple of days, and I came up with a motion that I think is gonna do what you're asking for, Tom. So if, I don't want to cut off any other conversation, but I'm happy to read it and see if anybody thinks that it might be missing something or not.
Why don't you, I'll tell you what, why don't we go to Mr. Preston and then Mr. Farmer will come right back to you, okay?
Sure.
All right, Mr. Preston.
So I guess I just have more feedback than anything. I doubt this impacts Joe's motion or anything like that, but I've been in communication with the gentleman involved in this project. They're both my former neighbors. Mr. Kaiser as well as the gentleman who's helping kind of steer the ship here. His name's Mike Pettit. And they're very serious about this. I mean, they were hoping to get some quick answers from us as they've been kind of holding back on, quite an expensive, some sort of, I don't know if it's an engineering or some sort of submittal though, but it's like a 6-figure item that they've been kind of holding back on. So all my input is that they're extremely serious about wanting to move forward with this project. But, we obviously have to go through all of our, necessary steps and making sure it's going to align with everything we, want it to. But assuming that they already know, those parameters and everything, they are very serious about wanting to move forward with this. So just my input.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to go to Mr. Farmer and let him make his motion. We still have plenty of time for discussion.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, and I'll say this, Chris, I don't think that this should slow anything down at all. I actually think it might speed it up a little bit, but we'll see what you guys think. So the motion would be to authorize the department to utilize the review of the Ridge Properties QSR proposal, should it advance through the formal review process, as a pilot case to inform the development of a standardized written framework for evaluating future QSR proposals within the workplace subdistrict. Such framework shall identify transferable design, circulation, access, buffering, architectural, and operational criteria, distinguish site-specific conditions from corridor-wide expectations, and be presented to the Economic Development Committee for review prior to application to other pre-zoned parcels. This authorization applies solely to QSR uses and does not establish standards for standalone car wash facilities.
Everybody get that?
it's,
All right,
it's a recommendation to have it reviewed, basically, right?
right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, basically,
so-
it's
This one
Not
develop-
just that.
This will go to planning and zoning, right?
Eventually.
If it.
Yeah, okay, and you just want a recommendation from us?
That's a motion.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a motion here, so
Second, yeah.
okay, Mr. Backert seconds.
And to clarify there,
So we're up for discussion now. Mr. Preston. You are on mute, sir.
Sorry, I actually just didn't lower my hand, so I don't
Not a
have
problem.
anything. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. All right. Mr. Packard, did you have?
No,
Mr. Kranz? Mr. Vunich?
With your permission, Chair.
Absolutely.
Mr. Farmer, could you send that to Colleen and I?
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to send it to you now or before we do the vote?
Whenever, tomorrow's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it for sure. Totally. Yep.
Joe, that gets the award for the longest motion. Congratulations.
The short and
Yeah.
skinny of that though, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. Farmer, was that you're practically taking this proposal if submitted and using it as a pilot case to evaluate future proposals for QSR within the areas identified in our new sub-district. And the other component of that is, you know, all of what that comes with, but not including the car wash component.
Yeah, and the only honestly, the only reason I took the car wash thing out is just because I think we've kind of mentioned this before. Like, it just seems like a kind of a structurally different thing than a quick serve restaurant. So I don't
Yep.
know that the same things apply.
I think that is a great, at least from the department's perspective, I think we should separate them out. QSR was the intent of changing the restrictions, the allowed uses on those properties. And the idea would be, it's one of the things our residents request all the time is the quick service food. So if we're gonna try to attract that type of business, I think it's important that we keep it to QSR.
Yeah, and I mean, I would also even say, you know, it may wind up going through the process or whatever that, you know, the determination is that a car wash thing works there. And I mean, if that's the determination, that's the determination. I don't know that we need to go through the efforts. Like, I think when we make this template, like, I don't think we would put another car wash up there if one happened, but so I don't think we need to waste our time templating that out, basically.
Right, very good. Moving on to not ready for action.
Oh, we gotta vote.
Vote on it, we gotta vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We got a first and a
Apologize.
second on Mr. Farmer's motion.
Apologize. So we have a first and a second on the motion made by Mr. Farmer. Does everybody understand the motion? I think
Yep.
everybody does. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries.
Real quick,
Now,
too, Mr. Upper, is there any general feedback too, that anybody would like us to share during, and the department will be available during that QSR? I know you don't wanna we don't know too much just yet, but, anything that said tonight, we can share during that meeting. We'll have council representation at that meeting as well, but just wanted to make sure that that was part of it too, that we could have that feedback. Whether or not you support it, you know, wanna look into it.
Mr. Farmer.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, you and I think have had this conversation a little bit. I would just say, you know, we have gone through the process of kind of pre-zoning these things to sort of help foster this, and it seems to be working, which I think is great. And now the next phase seems to be usually where, in the past at least, things have kind of run into some issues, and that's with some of our architectural components and things like that. So I think we just want to try to make clear to whoever might be coming, like, give them a real heads up of like, hey, we're not opposed to these things at all. We just need them to fit within, you know, the look and style of what we've got going here. Especially those couple spots are, you know, not that far away from houses. So we have to be cognizant of that. And I think my hope is that when developers come in and they understand that, I mean, I've seen it done in other cities just driving around. I think they'll be able to make it fit if they know in advance. I think the problem is we always tend to hit people with things like towards the end of the day, and then things maybe fall apart a little bit.
All right, thank you, sir. Now we move on to not ready for action, and there are no items listed there, so that would take us to miscellaneous. So one of the things I would suggest is, once Mr. Lee sends out that economic forum presentation, please take some time to take a look at that, because you'll see there's a lot of exciting things happening in the city right now regarding economic development. So for example, the new classroom building over at St. Louis Community College opened up last year. I think that's pretty exciting. We have the town center development over here on the other side of B&B. The reserve is underway. We have the Fisher and Frichtel development that's going on the northeast corner of 109 and 100. We have the all-inclusive playground over here. We have the Village Green that's taking shape quite nicely. So a lot of good things are happening in this city. Share that with your residents, so when somebody asks what's happening in Wildwood, you know, we've got some nice things to share with them. Mr. Kranz.
What?
Do you have any?
Oh, excellent.
Okay, all right. Mr. Vunich.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to compliment Mr. Lee and you. The slide deck is great. It's one of the better promotional things I've seen in years. So good job.
Well, being the politician I am, I would love to claim credit, but I can't because I have to give the credit to where it's due, and that's Mr. Lee.
As on this, oh, thanks, guys. Well,
Mr.
nice
Lee
job.
always says there's a lot of coordination between you and
Very.
him, so.
I'd say that, and also I think that it's not even just the step, but we just so happen to put it on paper, but really it's a lot of the actions that we talked about during the presentation. There's a lot of, actions independently that may have, moved the needle in one direction, but when you start seeing all the things, last 2 years, kind of start coming together, whether it be development or infrastructure investment and then the park, you start seeing a pretty shiny horizon for Wildwood as a whole. And if we can get the Main Street extended too and a couple other things checked off, I think there's a lot to be excited about with what's going on. Wildwood on the move, as we co-branded.
Perfect. All right, Ms. McCutcheon, you have your hand up.
Yes, I think I saw that presentation while I was going through this material today.
It was included as under the business forum report.
Okay, but would you mind
I'll
sending
send it to the whole committee.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Ms. McCutcheon, for that observation. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else under miscellaneous? So, to all of you who attended tonight, thank you for coming, especially those of you who attended in person, but those of you who attended from home, we appreciate your attendance as well. I think the year is off to a good start when it comes to economic development, and this team will, I'm sure, keep it going. So with that, the next meeting date is Tuesday, February the 24th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. And unless anyone else has any further comments, I will entertain a motion for adjournment made by Mr. Backert, seconded by Mr. Kranz, non-debatable. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Drive safe going home. Those of you who are attending remotely, have a great rest of your week. And we did it in about 65 minutes.